Hi guys, this is Cycle 1, Week 6 Art, and today in Community we are just going to be wrapping up everything that we have studied together so far, revisiting all of the concepts and refreshing their memories of it before we dive into our final activity together. So if you have your scripts handy, you could follow along, otherwise just listen in. Today is not meant to be really involved or difficult, it's just a fun way for you and your students to review these concepts. So I put at the top of it what you ought to do probably first is just remind them what we have studied week by week. So you'll go back to oils and you can ask your students, who can tell me what oils stands for and how we see that in art, and let them explain that to you, and then jump to mirror images. And who can tell me what mirror imagery looks like in art, and just make sure some of those key points like the line of symmetry and one side reflecting the other, that's kind of mirror imagery in art. And then going to upside down images, and when we draw upside down, how we want to try to identify what we know we see rather than what we think we see, which is looking for those shapes and lines and working our way from the bottom to the top. And then there's abstract art, and ask them, what does that mean? What makes something abstract art? And maybe see if they can pull from that definition of it should be like representative of things that we know, but not in a realistic sort of way. And then you'll go to perspective, which is that depth and that three-dimensional effect on a two-dimensional plane. And so once you've gone over those things with them, whether it's surface level or more in depth, I should say you'll know your class hopefully quite a bit better now rather than when we started in week 1. And so you know what works for you in your class and the flow of it and how deep you want to go into these questions. So just make it your own and keep it low stress, just so that they have these concepts kind of in the forefront of their mind as we go into our final activity together. And so then you'll see in your script the materials that you need. What we're going to get to do today is kind of a fun history tie-in, since we've been spending time in ancient history. Your class, your students are going to be getting to practice some art, some scratch art on Greek vases. So you will see in your Ziploc bag that you have one of these for each of your students. This is a Greek amphora style vase, and if it interests you or them, this is the kind of vase that Greeks would have used to store oil or milk or wine or grain. And so what Greeks would do, though, is they would just do beautiful art on the outside of these, etching them in and then adding color to show that definition. And so there will be patterns and ornaments that we have printed out that your kids can pull from those ideas. They can practice mirror imagery. Maybe they'll want to try doing some of it upside down if they so choose. Perspective, if they decide they want to kind of draw more of like a story in the middle, maybe making some things that are close up and some things that are further away. They can get as creative as they want, as detailed as they want, and you as the tutor can really help dictate which direction that you go in. But hopefully this will just be a fun way to wrap up and practice everything that we have studied together. So in your Ziploc bag, there should be enough for every student to get a vase, scratch art, as well as tutors. There's an extra one in there so that you can do this alongside your students if you want. There are styluses that came with these vases. They're pretty sturdy, so I'm really hoping that they're not going to be breaking all over the place. I mean, you don't have to press too hard to achieve a scratch on your artwork, but if kids are pushing really, really hard, then yep, it might snap. So maybe just let the younger ones especially know that ahead of time. And then also what you're going to see in your Ziploc bag is some smaller pieces of scratch paper, and that's so that they can practice the designs before they go to their final project. And that might just help them have a little more confidence in what they're hoping to put onto the vase. So look for that, the scratch art paper, and then the styluses, the Greek vases. You'll see this in your Ziploc bag. These are just some pattern ideas for older students. I have some more involved and intricate type designs that might challenge them and hopefully inspire them. But for younger classes, There's some easier ones that are going to help touch on those oils again. So shapes, just angled lines and circles and such. You can see how mirror imagery helps and works with some of these too. I don't want this activity to feel really stressful for younger ones who just haven't completely mastered their fine motor skills yet and holding a writing utensil. So if they just do all kinds of scratches whichever way they want on their vase, that's okay too. They're creating, they're doing what they want to do and the best that they can. You can encourage them to try these things, like let's try doing some circles next to each other or whatever, but just let them have fun. I think that should be the key takeaway. I would put these in the middle of your table so that the students can kind of see them as they create. So they'll start with the scratch paper pieces, the smaller rectangular pieces with the same stylus that they'll use at the end for their Greek pottery. They can just draw whatever designs. If they want to practice maybe perspective in the middle and do more of like a story where there's some characters who are close up, so they're bigger, and then further away they're smaller, they could do that too. I'm going to show you an example of one that my son did. He did, well, it's going to be red. That's the color that shows up when you do this project, but he just practiced some of these patterns from the printouts on the top and along the edges. And then he decided in the middle he wanted to do a Greek myth that he was familiar with. I think it's Odysseus, and I think he said there's a Hydra down here. He just kind of did whatever he was thinking of as he went and was practicing all these things that we went over. So I would say if you could even tie this into like a review time, by week 6 you have a lot more grammar review that you need to go over together. So if you wanted to extend this activity and let them work on it while you're singing through some of those review songs, that's an option too. But I'll let you guys decide how you want to do that in your class. But that's what it kind of looks like. You should have all your materials in your bag, but if you look through it ahead of time and it just seems like something is missing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know, and I will get that to you as soon as possible. But I hope you guys have had fun these weeks and that you have a great time creating with your students today.